Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. In today's video, we are going to do a full review of this West End watch that I unboxed a few weeks ago. And this one here, as I mentioned in my unbox video, this is like a homage or a copy to the Rolex Day-Date model. And interestingly, the West End Watch Company is not a micro brand or homage brand, a brand that specializes in homage, but it is indeed a Swiss made watch. As you can see from the 6 o'clock area at the dial, it's a Swiss made watch, Swiss company. In fact, it was started or founded way back in 1886. So I'll just spare you the history lesson today. I think I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to the brand. Apparently it was founded or started by a group of British gentlemen from the army. I think they were stationed in India at that time, and they decided to start this watch company, and in the end it became a Swiss made brand, and I think they must have moved production to Switzerland and it stayed there till today. So before I go on with the review, I'm just going to find some time to thank our boutique for loaning me all these watches for my reviews. The links to our boutique in the description below. You can find many Seikos, Casio G-Shocks, Swiss brands like Steinhardt, and as mentioned in today's video, West End Watch Company. So I'll just zoom in a bit to talk about the specs of the watch. This one here has got a 37mm case size, and it's got a case thickness, total thickness of 11mm from the base of the display back to the top of the flat sapphire crystal. I didn't bother to measure the added height that is contributed by the Cyclops lens here, so I'll just list the thickness as 11mm. And this one here has a lug width of 20mm, and the bracelet is pretty nice. It is, I think this is called the President bracelet, and it tapers down all the way to 16mm here, just before the buckle. So surrounded by this fluted bezel here, we've got a crystal size of 31mm, and finally there is a crown here. It is signed, and it is a sticker crown. This one here measures 5mm, so I would say this is more or less a dress watch, whereby there is no screw down threading, and you just push pull and set time. So the smaller dimensions also mean that overall the watch is pretty light. Now this watch here is on its full links. This is a brand new watch, and of course I'm not going to do anything such as removing any links from this watch. And with the full set of links, it weighs in at 118 grams. So I would say for a full bracelet watch, solid links, I think is pretty light. Water resistance is listed at 50 meters. Trust me, you won't need to do any serious diving or anything with this kind of watch. So there are no official information on the movement type used in this one. Alright, from the display back it looks like a very generic type of movement. So judging from the fact that it's got a dated complication, right, I would assume this is the ETA 2836, right? So it is from the 2000 series, ETA 2000 series. So with a day date, usually brands would shoot for the 2836 movement. At the time of this review, this one here, the classic West End watch, I think the model is listed here, is called Sova, alright, or Sovan. I'm not quite sure if this is N or R. So this one here retails at Singapore dollars 699. Obviously you can buy this one from our boutique, so if you're interested in this type of watches, do give Eric a call, or just go down and say hi to him. Perhaps you'll get a discount off the 699 retail price. So I'm going to move on and talk about the case design of this one. Alright, so the case design, I'm sure many watch fans will be very familiar with this type of case design. It is the standard dress watch, and with a two-tone color scheme like this. Alright, it really reminds me of watches I see in the late 70s to the mid 80s. Right, this kind of watch, this color scheme, even this size, it was very popular during this time. So men during this time, they tend to wear about 36 to 38 millimeters watch, and this one here is in the ballpark. This is 37 millimeters. So I also recall that this is not the only brand that has been making watches like this. Way before brands like Saint Martin and Heimdall, I think these brands, they more or less concentrate on making homage watches. But long before the beginnings of such brands, we've got brands like Titoni and Sandoz. So these brands, they were also part of their collection. They were Swiss made as well, and they largely made Rolex lookalikes. All right, there could be a bit of differences here and there. Maybe the case shape is a little bit different, and bracelet looks a bit different, or dial design is different, but the overall feel and look of the watch, it remains the same. So this one here is no different. West End Watch Company. From afar, I think if I bring the watch further back, all right, or from the side profile, you would know for sure that this is Rolex lookalike. So back to the West End watch that we are reviewing today. This one here has got a good mix of brush and polish finishes. All right, I like the fact that the top here, it is brushed nicely vertically, and I have no complaints about the quality of the brushing here. And moving on to the case side, or the side of the cases, and the polishing here is pretty impressive. All right, just excuse me a second. I'm going to bring in a cloth here to just wipe it down. There's too many fingerprints going on the case side. All right, so to be honest, I'm actually quite impressed by the level of polishing done here. I don't know if it's because this is a brand new watch. To be honest, I'm just trying to avoid the reflections because I don't want to let you see what I'm wearing now. All right, so I'm trying to angle the watch this way, but in real, I would say the polishing is done quite nice. All right, quite nicely done. And I also like how the equal distribution of the three segments, how it actually makes the watch appear a little bit thinner than what it really is. All right, so the total thickness of this watch is 11 millimeters, but it is spread out really evenly. So you've got the protruding case back, all right, and you've got the mid case, right, and then you've got the bezel and crystal side. So the distribution is pretty even, and I would say compared to, say, a Rolex Perpetual movement, sorry, a Rolex Oyster Perpetual watch, whereby it is mostly mid case and bezel. So this one here, I think the fact that it's distributed evenly, and sort of makes the watch appear a little bit thinner. So looking at the case back, perhaps we have something different to say. This is, after all, not a one-for-one copy of a Rolex, because this one here does have a display case back, and it's got all the specs engraved or written around the display case. All right, so it says sapphire crystal, water resistance, 50 meters, and yada yada. And I would say it's a dead stock ETA movement, apart from that decorated rotor. So this one here, you get mixed feelings from such design. It's nice to have an open back, but then if it's open back and there's nothing to see, in this case here is a dead stock movement, I'm not too sure what's the whole point of doing a display case back. And now I'm just gonna zoom out a little bit to show you and talk to you a bit on the bracelet. This one here, I would say this is probably inherent with all the precedent type of bracelet. It's got that loosey bendy type of feel. All right, so I'm not a big fan of this type of bracelet. All right, so I've never really handled an actual Rolex day date with this kind of bracelet. So fans out there, if you know more, please chime in the comment section. So this one here is nicely done in this gold plating right in the center. I think this part here is polished, whereas the side links are brushed. All right, so if you dig this type of look, if you're looking for this look, I think it may work for you. I do like the tapering though. It goes from 20 millimeters and it goes down to 16 here, and I think it goes back up to 18 at the buckle, all right, which is which is actually a stamped buckle, all right, or at least the clasp here is stamped, and yes, I think even the buckle is stamped, all right. And this one here offers very little micro adjustment, but as with most dress watches and one that has got relatively short links, I would say you probably don't need that many micro adjustments. So we'll go on and talk about the dial design here, and there's nothing new about this dial, so it is obviously heavily inspired by, you know, the big R brand. And this one here, it says old school, all right. I look at this watch, the minute I look at it, I think old school, early or mid 80s, you know, all right. So typically at this around this era, men were wearing about 36 millimeters watches. I think women would go for about 25 to 28 millimeters. So this one here has got that gilt look to it, with all the applied indices. There are no lume plots at all in this one, and you know, it's got the standard day display at the 12 o'clock area, and we come to this Cyclops lens here for the date display. So even for the prints, I would say there's quite a lot going on, all right, in terms of prints. So it's got that West End watch company with the model name here, Solvar, I think. And I'm just gonna reset the hands so that you can see some of the prints here around the 6 o'clock area, all right. So you've got so many tags going on here, and I seriously don't know what they mean. This one here says Prima, all right, and then you've got a crosshair and automatic, and finally it says 25 jewels, all right. And you've got some kind of a jewel here that I think comes from the Caseback, all right. So I've seen a few watches with the ETA 2000 series movement with the crystal, or sorry, the jewel here being displayed. So I think this one here follows that design cue. So the fluted bezel here really works well with that sunburst green finish. Looks fantastic, all right. Obviously this is just plated, all right, it's IP or PVD plated, but from afar you probably think, you know, you can't really tell the difference from afar. I'm not too sure if anyone can even tell the difference from afar. So if you're looking for this type of impact, this type of look, I would say this one here does the job pretty well. So before we zoom back out for a wrist shot, I'd like to just spend some time and talk about the crown operation here and the crown action, right? So you know, it's a Swiss movement, Swiss watch after all, so it can't be too shabby, right? I kind of like the reassuring pops that you get from pulling out the crown. So you get tick, that's position 1, and right, you can hear how loud it is, and then you go on to do your time setting. Pretty solid, all right. The winding movement here is also pretty solid, all right. So I would say, you know, it does feel like a Swiss watch and not one of those Miyota type of wobbly movements. So we got a pseudo wrist shot here. Obviously the watch is not sized to my wrist, right? So a pretty long one here, long bracelet, so I believe I need to remove quite a number of links. And what can I say, it really suits my 17-inch little boy wrist very well. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm coming to realize that, you know, anything under 40 millimeters really fits me very well, regardless of curves or not, all right. Any curves on the mid case or case back is irrelevant, right, given the case size of this watch here. And with this look here, this one here really goes well with a cigar. And this is obviously not a cigar, this is a pen, or and a glass of cognac, all right. But this is obviously not alcohol, it is a glass of tea, all right. It's not even whiskey, it's just a glass of tea, all right. And I think, you know, you get this look here, you know, you wear a really nice suit, right? I think you won't go wrong with this kind of combination, all right. It really gives you a very mature All right, a very gentlemanly kind of look here. So there you have it. That was my review of the West End Watch Company, the classic model, and the reference number for this watch is actually 682820. Alright, so if you like this kind of look here, the dressy, half gold kind of look, and this one here comes along with a really nice sunburst green dial. Alright, this is like the perfect combination. Alright, if you want that look, the late 70s to mid 80s kind of mature man kind of look, alright, I would say it's a really good choice, not overly expensive, right? So if you're looking for this look, I would say this is not a bad choice. Okay, it is obviously not for me. I'm not a fan of this look because I hardly wear dress watches. Alright, this is really super dressy, and I think it is not for me. But if you do like the look, do consider looking for this one. Alright, so this is the watch Kaki, and I'm gonna say goodbye. I'll see you next week for more watch videos. Bye bye. And of course, George here is very happy today because we have a green watch. He's contemplating not to return the watch to Eric. Alright, George, that's not gonna happen. We need to return the watch to Eric.